Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. So many shows to cover that are very juicy. So many topics. We're going to get into it all. I have a real cool interview at the end of the show with one of the contestants from Bethenny Frankle's Big Shot. So here we go. Let's get into it. Here I am. You wanted to hear about the details of my weekend at the Josh Flag party? Well, I bought a new dress. I went to Neiman Marcus and I got a dress so I could feel kind of happening. I had no idea it was a beach theme. It was the Nikki Beach Saint-Tropez theme. Good thing I didn't bring my sable. Anyway, here I am with Josh and his husband, Bobby, and I just had a blast. He had Getty Images there taking professional photos. I loved all the past apps. I'll get into more of the details of the party on Friday's Patreon, but I have some photos up here as I go through, and I mean, I look pretty great, and just had so much fun. It was very fun. I was hanging out with Melissa Rivers, talked to Sonja, which I will get into more on the Patreon. Sorry, don't get mad at me. But anyway, it was very fun. We had a lot of good times. Let's just talk about Real Housewives of New York because episode 3 was much more entertaining than the first 2. So they're still at the Hamptons house and they go out and they're going to a winery, which is difficult because Leah's no longer drinking. Instead, she's becoming an Orthodox Jew. And we see next week that she has to take like a day of silence or something, and then Ebony's going to speak for her. I want to say that I am not enjoying Leah. I think she is kind of full of shit. And, you guys may remember that there was an article that came out about Leah meeting Michael Chi, who is the head writer, very funny guy on SNL. He also appears on the news segments. And they had an exchange on Raya. And the exchange is amazing. You can look it up because she brought it up when she had a podcast in 2017 when nobody knew who she was. And she called him a D-lister, a has-been. Why is this D-list celebrity, being rude to me? She thought he was being rude. He released the text or exchanges between the two of them. And she is being so weird and like obviously heart really hitting on him and then like giving him shit for not being into her. And then he finally is just like, hey, you know what? I don't think this is going to work out. It's making me a little uncomfortable and a step back. Like, good luck to you. He's very classy. He is not rude to her at all. It's just kind of crazy. And she's the one that brought it out there. She probably brought it out there because she was like, I have a podcast. No one's listening to it. I'm not on a reality show yet. So I'm going to talk about the one celebrity I had contact with this week and be an asshole about it. So I love that he's like, what the hell? And you can hear if you know his comedy, if you're a fan of SNL, you know who I'm talking about. You kind of the way he delivers all his jokes and his cadence. You can kind of see him how he just goes, he kind of delivers like the funny jokes about the news. And he's just like, what? Like, this is ridiculous. And I think he was just like, okay, girl, like, this is getting weird for me. So I do think she's weird. Her outfits are weird. And she's just, I don't know, not enjoying her this season. Maybe I will more. If you're a huge fan, that's okay. You can love some of the girls and dislike some. That's what makes the show fun, okay? They're all big personalities. They're probably all basically narcissists, all, not in the best possible way. But yeah, you put strong personalities together so they have conflict, okay? Anyway, Ramona, wanted to have a nice time, so she hired a couple people to help her. She used the word help. She goes, I get my help mixed up, meaning their names. Well, Ebony then approached her at the winery the next day, and it was so... God, I've told you guys before, I know a lot of people really do not like Ramona, but there is aspects of Ramona that I have some empathy for because I've sort of been in that position. And you're just like, oh God, am I going to be scolded? Because my whole life I've been me, Heather McDonald, a comedian. But for the first, 20 something years of my life, I was not on stage and not being a comedian, but I still had this personality and I still spoke the way I speak, had my strong opinions, was joking with my friends, as I stole their scrunchie in the sorority house, thinking I was being funny. Then I'd run down the stairs, have a great night, and then that girl would be like, she really hurt my feelings, talk all about me, and then I would have like an intervention about how I said something mean to a sorority sister. So I've had that happen to me before, and I'm like, shit, I did not mean to be mean. Now it's okay, because now they're like, whatever, that's Heather. She's, and even you guys would be like, whatever, that's Heather. But there was a time when I was just a college student pissing off people and not making any money for it. So poor Ramona, and I say poor Ramona just because of this story. So Ebony is like, I really enjoyed getting to know you last night. It was a really nice party. And Ramona's like, okay, I really appreciate that, but right now I feel like you're going to attack me, and like I feel a little bit nervous, and I just want to enjoy my rosé. So can it wait? Well, I really feel I need to talk to you about something. Okay, could it wait? No, it really can't. She takes a big breath. She's like, all right, give it to me. What asshole thing have I done? I'm Ramona. She should her next tagline should just be like, a lot of people think I'm an asshole. Well, you know what? I'm still glad I've got one that works sometimes, because she had a lot of diarrhea on last night's episode, in which Leah also questioned if she might have IBS, right? Irritable bowel syndrome. That's correct. So Ramona is sitting there just like, oh, I'm sure her asshole was clenching, knowing that she's going to get sick to her stomach. And then she goes, well, yesterday with the woman that was helping you prepare the meal, yeah, I know. I messed up their names. I'm really sorry. I get mixed up with names sometimes. No, but you use the term the help. Well, yeah, I hired them to help me because I wanted to have a beautiful time for you. Last time there was a vibrator in the chicken. The house was really messy. That wasn't the point. I'm trying to finish what I'm going to say. Okay, what is it? And then she explains that her grandmother, which it was a domestic, so she ran a home for a family for many years, but I think they also referred to her as the help. So as the granddaughter, and they made a big deal about that the grandmother is very ill, which I was also thinking, like, this is crazy that, honestly, that their grandmothers are still alive. Like, I don't know. I'm like, wow, these Leah and Ebony really are a lot younger than the other women if their grandmothers are still alive. Like, Ramona's mother, I don't think, is alive. And Luann's is. She has great genes. I don't know. I just think it's very interesting. You kind of see the big age difference when you're like, wow, your grandmother is still alive. That's kind of crazy. Okay, anyway. Because they're young. They're in their 30s. Okay, so she says that. So then Ramona takes it and she goes, okay, thank you. I really appreciate you talking to me about that. I'm going to, you know what? It's hospitality assistants. That's what I'm going to call them, hospitality assistants. And so now you guys know it's hospitality assistants, okay? That's for anybody that is helping you in or around your home or anything like it. Now we know that. Thank you, Ramona and Ebony. She thinks she's done. She thinks she's going to be able to have some rosé. And then Leah goes, so, I have a question. Did you or did you not give your plasma after you may or may not have had COVID? And her eyelashes, she's got the fake, black eyelash extensions, which it's so bad on like an older blonde lady. If you don't have full makeup to go along with those long, thick, black eyelash extensions, it looks wackadoo. It looks a little like whatever happened to Baby Jane. So she's like, well, I don't know what you're saying, Leah. I mean, okay, I wasn't feeling great. And then I went on this yacht. And before I went on the yacht, they had a little COVID test. And I was like, you know what? I'm in Boca Raton. I'm at this beautiful yacht club. Let me just take this test. And it turned out I had it. So I went home and then I'm like, Avery, you get tested. And, so we both had it. That's it. I really didn't get that sick, but we both had it. And then they throw up this Daily Mail article that says that she and Avery gave plasma. Did you or did you not give it? Yeah, I mean, they took some of my blood. Yeah, but that's not plasma. Did you or... And she just keeps going for it. She's like, you know what, Leah? Nail me to the cross. You heard my statement. I had COVID. I don't have it. Now I'm wearing my mask to go to the bathroom. Okay, I'm wearing my mask to go to the bathroom. And then Leah's like, okay, I'm not the COVID police. I'm like, yeah, you are. You are. I don't know how you guys are even receiving this episode now, because in most of the country, in America, thank goodness, things are really opening up. A lot of us have been vaccinated. If you haven't been vaccinated, it doesn't matter, but it feels a lot safer in the world. Like, there's traffic, people are in school, and we are kind of past the COVID police and the COVID shaming. So I wonder, are people still really angry that Ramona obviously lied about giving plasma? I never believed it when I first read it. I don't really understand what that is. I don't understand if you have to be a special person to give it. I don't know if it puts you out for a week. I don't know if it's like bone marrow. I don't even know really what it is. And I don't think Ramona did either when she made up the story. So she's shitting, literally runs to the bathroom. And Luann's like, are you okay, Ramona? And the poor girl at like the little winery gift shop is like, hey. And she's like, actually, I have diarrhea, Lou, so could you just leave me alone? And then she gets up and she leaves. And then Luann's like, is the bathroom safe to go? She's like, yeah, kind of. Anyway, they go to the next spot and they go to dinner. Well, now Sonja's pretty drunk. All I can say is Leah's not drinking and Luann's not drinking. And if Sonja's story next year is I'm sober and I went to rehab, they better bring in 10 new girls, because without Sonja getting wasted, it's not that much fun of a show. So Sonja has a lot of rosé, and she is really drunk off rosé, which is not like the strongest of the wines, but whatever. That's her kryptonite. That's what she's getting drunk off. And she's really feeling herself, getting real drunk. And they go to dinner, and oh my God, she's getting wasted. And Ramona is being a really good friend. She takes her rosé away, and she's like, Sonja, no, not until your meal comes. Not until your meal comes. She's like, give me my rosé. And so she starts getting really jealous that Luann has a new hot guy that she's talking to. So Luann, he's going to come work out. Everybody's a trainer. She met him online or something, and she puts out her phone and she's FaceTiming him. And Sonja's like, why does Luann get to FaceTime a guy? Like, Sonja gets very jealous if other girls in the group have boyfriends, especially if she somehow thinks that maybe they were hers at one time, could have been hers. Maybe she introduced them. That's like her Achilles heel. Like, she really feels like she's been boyfriend poached like a billion times between Luann and Ramona. So anyway, she's getting drunk and she's like, why do you keep FaceTiming that guy? I'm going to FaceTime some guy. So she FaceTime some guy that seems kind of young. He works at Morgan Stanley, as in Sonja Morgan, and Chase Bank. And she's getting really drunk and talking to him. And finally, Ebony takes the phone and she's like, I just want to tell you, I'm getting my loan from Chase Bank. I really appreciate that Chase Bank is doing something with the wage gap or something, or the wealth gap. So that's why I'm getting my loan there. Well, Ramona pulls a Kodak film, just like she did with Jill Zarin, where she says, the rates at Wells Fargo are a lot better. You know what? The rates at Wells Fargo are a lot better. Ebony, if you're going to get a loan, I know about real estate. I haven't announced it yet, but I'm taking my real estate license, and the rates at Wells Fargo are a lot better than Chase. And I just want you to get a great deal, because I don't want to help per se, but I want to give you some assistance in getting the best loan possible. And then Ebony is like, no, I know that, but I like what Chase is doing, in the world of social justice, I guess. It's kind of, in the bigger picture of what Chase is doing. And oh my God, Sonja freaks out and she goes, what are you doing talking about Wells Fargo? That's not my family. My family is Morgan Stanley. You need to get your loan from Morgan Stanley. And she's wasted. And prior to that, when she was talking about things, she was it was like 12 different discombobulated conversations. It was some of the best television I've ever seen. It was almost like she was in a dream state. I mean, I don't even know how she feels like the next day watching this. She posted about it. She's been like, who cares? It's one of a million. You know, she's had these moments for the last 8 years she's been on the show, and it's thoroughly entertaining. But I'm like, what do you care about Morgan Stanley? I guess for her daughter, but certainly she's not getting any more money from the Morgan family. There you go. It's juicy. Ramona gets up. She's like, she pushes Ramona, which is like basically elder abuse at this point. The fact that she'd physically push like a 64-year-old woman. Of course, Ramona's going to forgive her, but Ramona had it. Ramona had not had a fun day. Once again, she hosts this whole thing, and the chick just can't do anything right. And that I'm just giving it from Ramona's perspective. Okay, big news in the world. Demi Lovato has come out as non-binary. It is okay to be non-binary, just you cannot be a non-fat yogurt. Okay? You can be non-binary, just can't be non-fat yogurt. Interesting that it came out today because I was doing the Jeff Lewis radio show this morning and I have to drive down Sunset Boulevard. If you've ever been on Sunset Boulevard, there's big, huge, very expensive billboards all over, mostly for TV shows, but I noticed 2 or 3 that are now for podcasts. That's how big podcasts are. And of course, Demi Lovato has one. And shockingly, today is the first episode. And on the first episode, she says she comes out as non-binary. You know, she probably, when she was getting the shit for ripping on non-fat yogurt, she probably wanted to say then, and by the way, I'm non-binary. So like, lay off. But then her team was like, you know what? In 3 weeks, we are launching the podcast. We need a big bang so people know about it. So Heather McDonald talks about you once again. So can you just save that? You know, we already said last year you already came out as pansexual. So this year you're going to come out as non-binary, and we got to do it on the podcast so it gets a big bang. So the article is written with the proper pronouns of their, they, and them, which I get it, but just in reading it and actually in conversation, I know that Shakespeare, even at one time in Chaucer, I think, used the terms of they, their, and them to describe one person. It's been around forever, but I'm just saying it is confusing. It is confusing as far as getting a story straight when it's being told to you or when you're reading it, because you just keep imagining more than one person in the story. So it's like, if someone is non-binary in your life and you're like, yeah, my brother is getting their degree and they are moving to Wyoming. And then you say, well, who is your brother moving with? Nobody. He goes by they. And then later on, maybe the person would say, my brother and his partner are moving to Wyoming next year, and they are going to buy a house, but they actually just got a promotion. Both of them got a promotion. No, my brother got a promotion. So I'm just saying to the world, as we go in this direction, I have no problem with it, but I think there should be, I don't know who would do it because I don't know who creates new pronouns, but I just think there should be a different pronoun that is singular that works for someone who is non-binary. Okay? I don't have a problem with it. I'm just saying, or we'll just get so used to it, won't matter. Anyway, there you go with that. Interesting enough, Shahs of Sunset, Glonessa, she wants to explore, she says she's polyamorous, or she wants to explore polygamy and polyamory, which is interesting. And she said, I was, congratulations to Willow Smith because she came out as polyamorous. And then she jokingly said, she stole my storyline. This is to page 6 but she said, cheers to the girl. She goes, I wanted to hug her and hit her because she stole my storyline of being polyamorous. Anyway, this also came up because on the Shahs of Sunset, which is like, I think it's in its 9th season or so. I don't know how many seasons they've done. It started out with a bang. If you've never watched this show, you absolutely could just start watching now and understand what's happening. It's a group of people in their mid 30s to mid 40s that are all of Persian or Iranian, you can call it either, Americans here. And so the culture is kind of fun, and they have a love-hate relationship with each other. They're best friends. They're not best friends. They hate each other. They've screwed around once in a while, but not anymore. You know, it's just, anyway, one guy named Mike has been married, divorced, and he has a girlfriend, and he's been a player. Well, shit goes down, and the girlfriend starts texting the group screenshots of these DMs that she found on Mike's phone where he is DMing and having a sexual conversation with some hot girl on Instagram. One of the DMs, he actually sends a photo of his, which is from like 10 years ago, where he's like laying back, and I guess he's in like white underwear, and you can kind of see how big his dick is. Conversations of like, will you do anal? All this stuff back and forth with this girl, in which she says, yes, I'm down. Send me a photo of your penis before it gets soft. He goes over to Mercedes and Tommy's house, to other cast members. You maybe know Mercedes from my show. Anyway, she's great. And he goes right out with the story in front of the girlfriend. He's like, so a crazy thing happened. My phone was hacked. It was hacked, and the iCloud stole all my stuff and exchanged it with other stuff that then showed up on my Instagram DMs. Like I was talking, I can't believe he even tried to tell the story that this happened. This has never happened to anybody. I'm sorry, it has not. And she has to go along with it. Like, yeah. Then she has a couple more drinks. She tells Mercedes this has happened before. I don't know what to do. I mean, it's pretty juicy. I don't know what you would do if you kept finding the DMs of him with this girl, but that was pretty funny. Ellen DeGeneres says, the show is ending. Well, I got a hot tip. Somebody wrote me and said they were eavesdropping at a restaurant in LA, which I'm not going to say, that Ellen was there and that she was talking about starting her own skincare line at Walmart. This is all literally hearsay. This is eavesdropping. This is an ear listening to someone else's conversation. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's that juicy. I just thought, I don't know. When you think, Ellen, do you think skincare? Then I thought, well, she was the CoverGirl spokesperson for a long time. But she is one of those people that when you've seen her in person or when you see her in an untouched photo, you're like, I don't think that skin is that great. I don't know. Maybe that's who should have skincare lines. People whose skin is not that great. And they're like, look, my skin's not that great, but I did find this one thing in a rotten melon in France that makes it really soft. And I really did notice a difference. I have never really, I feel like everybody that's ever had a skincare line either had really good skin or whatever skin, and they just like joined a company. Except for Cindy Crawford, who actually said she found the melon. But still, I don't know. Does anyone use Cindy Crawford stuff anymore? I may have a skincare line, so maybe I shouldn't talk. Okay, moving on. Harry, also, they're neighbors, Ellen and Harry. Harry's getting some heat. He went on Dax Shepard podcast, and, some people are saying that it's been taken out of context, whatever, but he did talk about the First Amendment, and he said he thinks it's bonkers that people can say whatever they want. It's crazy. And of course, people just jumped all over it because it is the First Amendment. It doesn't necessarily exist the same way in England. I think everybody just thinks about themselves in these situations. The First Amendment has not been good to him and Meghan. And when things have been said about them, that they don't like or they don't believe are true, they go after the people that said it, whether it's in a lawsuit or having so much power that someone's like, you know what, maybe we need to get rid of this commentator that said this thing about Meghan that wasn't nice. So I don't know. People are not receiving him so great. Of course, he and Meghan has this podcast. I don't know if their podcast is on every week or what the deal is, if they just talk about chickens. I know he's got his thing with Oprah doing the mental health special on Apple TV. But yeah, sorry, we do have the First Amendment. And now you're going to be a podcaster and you don't want the First Amendment? Are you kidding me? Everybody has a podcast. Everybody's talking freely, and that's why it's successful. If those laws change, which you guys know what I've been through, it's not going to be good for anybody. So I didn't appreciate Harry saying that at all. LAPD is investigating sexual assault drugging claims against T.I. and Tiny. These stories came out a little while ago. It's several women. T.I. and Tiny have been vocal and honest that they're freaks in the sheets, that they bring in other women, that they like to party, that they're very adventurous sexually, but they've claimed it's always been consensual. Well, several women have come out and said that they maybe went to party with them or were open to doing some stuff with them, but then in fact were drugged, like had a drink and can't remember anything else, or woke up with sexual things happening to them, which they did not consent. One woman did say she said no. And they are now investigating these women's claims. And T.I. and Tiny say no. Anytime anybody has partied with us, been to our home, it's always been consensual. It's never been kidnapping. It's never been drugging. It's very interesting because it's a similar story to the OC Swingers podcast, which is about this attractive couple, a doctor and his really attractive girlfriend, that would bring a woman home and party, have drinks, do some drugs and have sex with another woman. They said it was always consensual. Many women said it was not. It's a big, long legal thing of how they went about it and how the Orange County DA kind of screwed up the case for the victims. It's very intricate. I'm not going to get into it all today. We did Juicy Crimes on it, but gosh, it's a hard thing. It's like interesting that now there's another couple kind of being accused of this, and it's almost like it's weird because you're like, oh my God, maybe they went thinking a woman was even, a safer place to be than if you just went home with a guy. Maybe going home with a couple is even safer than if you just went home with a guy you didn't know, because a woman is there. And in these alleged victim statements, it was way worse. So we'll see what happens there. Airlines could start weighing passengers before boarding on a plane. It's just so embarrassing and so awful. But, do you guys remember the story of Aaliyah? She was a singer. God, if I'm saying her name wrong, I apologize. She is a singer, and she had a small private plane, and it went down because there was too much luggage, and it was too heavy. So they basically are saying they want to weigh customers to make sure that the plane isn't too heavy. It's for our safety. It's not like they don't want people of a certain size to be on their plane, but they're going to have to. And so they said, we may just ask the people, what do you weigh? And then they're supposed to calculate another 10 pounds because they know that everyone lies about 10 pounds. But they might actually have a scale there. Now, we have gone on some things like zip lining, and I also went on like a luge, a little luge thing in Aspen, and you had to weigh yourself because they want to make sure that it wasn't too heavy for two people to go on the same one. If not, you went on your own. And it's always just like this big, almost like what you'd weigh like a cow on. Like it's not a normal scale. It's like a big square. And it is really humiliating. And again, just like you go to the doctor, just like you do this on a zip line, you're like, I'm not that big. Like, this is like 4 or 5 pounds off. So I think we just have to accept it for our own safety. That, or they just start selling less seats, which they don't want to do. But then this is what I don't get. If the flight is full and everyone is overweight, like, who then doesn't get to go? Like the heaviest people? Or do they go, okay, we're going to get rid of 5 heavy people, or are we going to get rid of 10 smaller people because we don't want to discriminate against the heavier people? We want to be fair, or every other flight, 4 heavy people get kicked off and then 10 light people I don't know. Or will you have to put it in before you ever buy your ticket? It's weird. We don't know. John Mulaney, you guys might not know who he is, a very funny comedian. Anyway, he went to rehab, came home from rehab, and filed for divorce from his wife, who said she was devastated. It just came out that she also went to rehab, but not for alcohol like he did. She went for just like depression and sadness. While he was in rehab, Olivia Munn, you know who she is, that beautiful actress who has dated a lot of guys. Like, I think she is one of those chicks that can really hook a guy. Like the Venus trap vagina, I don't know what it is, specialness. She tweeted him and was like, you know, thinking about you, hope you do well or whatever. Well, months later, they're dating. So, she was linked to Aaron Rodgers, Chris Pine, Justin Timberlake, Matthew Morrison, and Joel Kinnaman. So Olivia Munn dates some happening dudes, and she's very pretty, and now they are dating. Okay. Justin Hartley is married to Sophia Pernis. Justin was the husband. He's the hot guy from This Is Us, the hot triplet from This Is Us. I mean, they weren't real triplets, but whatever. You know the show, the hot blonde guy. And he was married to Chrishell. And if you watch Selling Sunset, you saw that she was so in love with him. They looked to have the perfect marriage. And then she was absolutely devastated, blindsided when he left her and hit her with divorce papers. This girl that he's now married to was one time his co-star. So I think that he definitely was in love with her when he decided to leave Chrishell. That is my opinion. And this is, in fact, his 3rd marriage. And he's a young guy. So kind of interesting. And 3rd marriage, he had a first marriage where he has a 16-year-old daughter. Then he had Chrishell, and now he has this girl. I'm excited for this show. Sebastian Stan is Tommy Lee, and Lily James is playing Pamela Anderson. And I think it's Seth Rogen is playing the guy who brokered the famous sex tape. For those of you that don't know, this was a sex tape that happened on their honeymoon. And Tommy Lee has a very large dick, and we saw him. They were on a yacht together, not a yacht, like a boat, just the two of them doing their own home movies. We saw them having a lot of sex, bodily fluids. I just remember where I was when I saw it. It was this other comedian. We did some shows at the Improv. I went to his house, and he's like, do you want to watch the Tommy Lee tape? And I'm like, I guess. Everyone's talking about it. And I really felt sad that I watched it. I was like, I really felt like I was violating. This couple seemed very much in love, and they spoke to each other sweetly, and they were having some hot sex and having fun. And I just remember he was like steering the boat, the wheel of the boat with his penis. And, and now it's out. And I could see a lot of people not being thrilled that they're making a movie about this. His children, Tommy Lee's current wife, Brittany Furlan, who is really great, and they're very in love, but I don't think she enjoys that these movies that basically took place maybe even before she was born are out now. But I don't think it's going to necessarily make them look bad as a couple. I think it's going to make them look in love with the story about it. They were just so big in the news. And Courtney Love just blast Lily James for being in it. And first of all, I'm looking at a photo. She looks a lot like her with the hair and everything. She's got a really pretty face. I don't really get why Courtney Love inserted herself and got so angry about it. But she's like, that was a terrible time for my friend, and I felt disgusted watching it too. Okay, I guess, but people write movies about things. There's movies about the Menendez brothers and OJ and everything else. So people are into 90s pop culture stuff. just look around. Look at all this books and magazines and stories and podcasts about big crimes and big news stories and scandals that happened in the late 90s. And that's when this happened. Okay. Speaking of the past, Aubrey O'Day made a claim that Kim Kardashian and Travis Barker hooked up years before he became romantically involved with Kourtney. She wrote this Instagram post a while ago, a long time ago. And then we saw that Shanna Moakler, Travis's ex, brought it up recently in a post saying, you had an affair with Kim and that's why we got divorced. Travis Barker is now dating Kourtney. Basically, what Aubrey posted or talked about in the past was that they were hanging out a lot. They were having a blast. She and Kim wasn't as famous. I think this was like 2007 or 8. And she's like, I went to this 4th of July party and I wanted to have fun and go to parties, but Kim wanted to get all these pictures and she was with Travis Barker, who she was hooking up with. And then she's like, and then in the end, she just wanted to go home after she took all her photos and the fireworks were going. And I said, can we just pull over, Kim, and at least just let me look at some fireworks before they're over? I just want to like experience 4th of July. And they pulled over and Kim was like, oh my God, I'm on this piece of grass in Calabasas in the middle of nowhere looking at fireworks. And last year I was on a yacht in some exotic locale with Paris Hilton. And Aubrey was like, okay, sorry, I'm not Paris Hilton. Anyway, obviously, Kim star rose. At the time, she probably thought Aubrey was like a really cool person to hang out with. And then was like, yeah, okay. Like maybe just a heart emoji, a text back, maybe no text, maybe leave it on unread. I don't know. But obviously they're not friends now. But who knows if they ever really hooked up. It sounds like they were friendly, that they hung out. But this is the story. And again, I don't know. Does it really? I mean, if it was a one and done, I mean, Hunter Biden, got with his sister-in-law after his brother passed. I mean, and now he's with someone else. I don't know. I think sometimes people do, especially when it's a lot of years in between. And in this case, even if they did, it was one drunken night. If there's really an attraction and love, what does she care? And what does he care if he's, but it is pretty juicy. Speaking of the Kardashians, Lamar didn't pay his child support. Okay, I'm just going to move on. This is pretty good. You guys are into this. Jana Kramer, she is finally filed for divorce. They did a whole podcast every other week about how he was cheating. She finally filed for divorce. And she has to give him $592,000 as part of the divorce settlement. He was an NFL player, so I'm kind of surprised she has to pay him. But it sounds like that's really done. That's the settlement. It's done. And all he got to take, they agreed not to pay alimony, and they're both responsible for their own attorney fees. And but he got to keep the furniture in the master bedroom, furniture in the bar room, as well as his truck, desk, and dumbbells. I just think that's so funny. Like, you can take your dumbbells, okay? Chrissy Teigen, latest on that is Bloomingdale's, which was just about to do a deal with her cookware, has in fact pulled out. So the cookware is not in Target, which was decided in December. And I don't know if that was because of the previous tweets that she did about children. They got rid of that. Then Macy's did, in fact, just kill that deal. It was all set to happen. There were events planned around it. And then with everything that's come out later, the latest stuff about Courtney Stodden and all the other tweets that she did about people from 10 years ago, got rid of that. And now Bloomingdale's is not going to happen with Bloomingdale's either. Again, look forward to listening to her podcast. I'm sure that'll be the next thing she does with John Legend. Anyway, also Gwyneth Paltrow's vagina candle, the candle that smells like a vagina, that's for $75. Some weird guy who clearly couldn't get a vagina of his own bought the candle, lit it by his nightstand, and it blew up. And he got a little burn on his arm, and it ruined his little nightstand, which I'm doubting it's like a nice nightstand. But anyway, you're not supposed to burn the candle more than 2 hours. He burned it for 3 and it exploded. Now, I don't think candles explode. I mean, I've let a candle burn all day and it didn't explode. So I think we need to find out really what's in this vagina candle. But he's trying to do a big lawsuit. What do you call it when you do a big lawsuit? Peter? What do you call it? A class action. So if you bought a vagina candle from Gwyneth for your friend and it did explode, you might want to call this guy because he's suing for $5 million and he needs a lot of people to join on to try to justify his nightstand and his scrape on his arm worth $5 million. Last story I thought was interesting. This guy is, he's such a babe. His name is Henry Cavill. You're like, yes, we know who he is, Heather. Well, I'm not like a Superman person. I didn't watch The Tudors. He is about the best looking guy I've seen in a while next to Brody Jenner. He has this adorable girlfriend and everyone is freaking out thinking she's not hot enough for him. I swear to God, she looks like a movie where a girl is gorgeous, but they put glasses on her and then just like don't blow out her hair. And she's a nerd. And then someone gives her a blowout and some contacts. And they're like, whoa. Because you can tell she's really pretty. Like she has a perfect nose, perfect skin, blue eyes, a cute button nose. But I guess people were like, why is he with her? And I'm like, please, it's just that she's not like glammed up, but he's madly in love with her. And he's English. And he wrote this thing about it. He's like, dear fans and followers, I'm just going to do an English accent. I wanted to make a wee community announcement. I couldn't help but notice there has been some social animosity of late. It's becoming increasingly prevalent on my feed. There has been lots of, let's call it speculations for now, about my private life and professional partnership. Now, while I do appreciate the passion and the support by these very people who are speculating, so Henry Cavill got a lot of shit, because people didn't think that this girl was hot enough for him. Which is so crazy because it's never the other way around. Like a girl could be, if a gorgeous girl is with an ugly guy. I mean, I remember when we used to see Harvey Weinstein with the, fashion designer. Everyone was just like, well, he's a really successful guy. Sometimes they go, hey, gold digger, whatever. But my God, it's so weird that women will get the angriest of all if a really hot guy is not with a girl they believe is as hot as they believe that person should be with. And by the way, this girl is beautiful. Like there's a photo of her here. You see she has like a perfect mouth, skin, cute nose, blue eyes. So he writes this beautifully written, by the way, I do think maybe English people are better educated than we are, beautifully written, perfect grammar post of just, he writes, here's a little portion of it. More and more people are realizing their views may have been blinkered and that they need to expand them to encompass others. So to you out there who are expressing your disdain and showing your displeasure through a surprising variety of ways, it's time to stop. So I know it can be fun to speculate, to gossip, and to dive into our own personal echo chambers on the internet. But your passion is misplaced. So he just says, like, I love my girlfriend. Her name is Natalie Viscuso. She's a movie exec. She was also on My Big Sweet 16, where she had a big fancy party in La Jolla, California when she was 16. And there's a photo of him playing chess with her. And she's got her glasses on. So she sounds like a good girl, a nice girl, a smart girl. She's an executive. She knows how to play chess. She wears glasses. So just get over it. And the HBO Max Friends Reunion is here. They showed a trailer. It's basically like they just all get together for dinner. And Jennifer is excited. She's like, it is going to be great. We're going to laugh. We're going to talk. They all look good. Joey's gained a few lbs. What guy at that age hasn't? All right, you guys, I'm very excited because I am talking to a cast member from the show. A lot of you have been watching it, Big Shot with Bethenny. And we're going to talk all about the show, get her perspective on it, what it was really like. So here we go with Nicole Rose from Big Shot with Bethenny. Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I am talking to Nicole Rose, who's one of the top contestants on a show that a lot of Juicy Scoopers, including myself, are talking about. It's Bethenny Frankel's Big Shot on HBO Max. She is Donald Trump, but all the activities and all the challenges are just all of her products, which is genius. Hello, Nicole. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Heather. Thank you so much for having me.
So I am watching. I was just talking to you about how much is left. I'm currently, I think, on episode 5 where there's a cooking challenge. I've seen we'll get into all of it. But so there's a couple episodes left after that, now it's going to be caught up. So, if you're watching it, you can catch up on HBO Max, and then you'll still have to wait for the finale, which I kind of love. I kind of love when something's not all bingeable. Like, I kind of like, or if you catch up, you can binge a little, but then you still have like a week or two of like, how is this going to end to, talk with other people about. So, first of all, how did you decide, when did you first see, because I remember seeing the ad and people posting on all these different blogs and my private group, Juicy Scoop Obsessed, that there was going to be a competition show to work for Bethenny Frankle. So how did you come about it, and what was your history? How much did you know? How big of a fan of hers? Tell me everything.
Yeah, oh my God, so much good stuff there. So I have a long history with being a fan of Bethenny, really from like a business perspective, right? She's very brilliant. She's built so much from nothing, and I will always respect how hard she hustles. I mean, I learned that even when I was with her every day filming The Big Shot. I don't think anybody works harder than her. You'd think at her level, there'd be somebody working harder than her for her, and she's just always on and always killing it. So a team that was working on building out this show, actually reached out to me on Instagram. And that was the first time I had heard about it. It was before it had been kind of posted and before she had posted it, that other people could apply. And I was really intrigued, but I didn't know that it was her. So they told me that it was a mogul that they thought that I would relate to.
I do find that very interesting because in all these reality shows, so many of them the casting goes the other way, where people are found, whether they're like realtors that are featured on a show. I've had friends who are realtors who were hit up by casting directors through their Instagram. And I think that's a big part of casting and production companies, that they are trying to find the right talent. Or oftentimes on Shark Tank, I've heard like people didn't really apply to Shark Tank. They already had their business and the Shark Tank people kind of found them. And then they go from there. And I don't think that's like, pulling back the curtain so much. I think that's just a fact. Probably a couple of people came because they saw it and applied. But then, it's important that these production companies are proactive too, and in finding people that will actually fit, but also be entertaining on television.
So totally, I think I agree with what you're saying. Once again, I didn't cast the show, so I don't know, all the back end of that. But I think this was probably a really tough one to cast for because it really was truly a business competition for a real life job. But you had to be like, I think they needed some kind of characters, right? Or else it would just be, we were stressed. We were working very hard. It would have been easy to just put my head down and like not even look up and like ever make a comment. You know what I mean? Like that's how much there was to do on the projects. So
right.
I know they need.
But so with Bethenny, obviously I know Bethenny. I've met Bethenny several times. I was on Bethenny's talk show. She was on Chelsea Lately. We've hung out a little bit. It's been a few years now that we have. I kind of have like I don't want to say love-hate, but I'm extremely entertained by her. But being such a fan of Housewives and knowing so many different Housewives and interviewing so many different Housewives throughout the years, I feel like I really know her brain, and I know when she's doing something authentically, and I know when she's doing something, in my opinion, not. And one thing I thought was sort of interesting is she keeps saying on the show, "Are you good at social media? We suck at social media. We all suck at social media." And I'm like, do you think she thinks she sucks at social media because that she only has 1.8 million followers and not 18 million followers? Because I'm like, 1.8 million followers or whatever she has, I haven't checked in a while, That's pretty, I wouldn't say that's sucking at social media. Like,
Yeah.
what
So,
was
I mean, look,
that?
she doesn't suck at social media,
Yeah.
but I think there's always room for growth. I think she's very hard on herself.
Yeah. And then my question was like, was nobody with her when she wrote the tweets on Sunday night about Meghan Markle and then had to backtrack on that? I'm like, where was the social media people then? Yeah, maybe you do. Or when she filmed, her dog's fatal seizure on Insta story. Was that what she's referring to? I'm like, I don't know. But to me, someone that has that kind of presence on the web and on social media does not suck. But I get, I guess I get what she was saying. But I mean, usually when people talk about it, it's like they have 32 followers and they don't even know where to begin. So I was like, okay,
I truly think that if she knew how to kind of use more of the tools, right? Instagram, TikTok, all of these platforms are changing constantly.
Right.
So I do think she could capitalize more, but of course she doesn't suck.
Yeah. So, okay, so you go through the process, and so when do you find out it's Bethenny Frankle and that you're going to do it?
Yeah, so I find out it's Bethenny Frankle probably like a couple months into casting. It was a longer casting period. I think, obviously with everything going on in the world, it made doing TV just slightly more complicated. And I found out about maybe 2 months into the process. I was super excited because, like you, I had been a fan of the Real Housewives. I left my corporate job when I was about 25. I used to be director at a social media agency, right? So I always thought it was funny how she talked about social media all the time. So I was like, well, that's obviously why I'm here. But obviously she's got a lot more followers than me. But yeah, when I found out it was her, I was really kind of excited to pick her brain, to learn from her. Like you said, she really has a very intricate, complex personality and brain. And I knew there would be so much to learn from the woman who made the Bethenny clause.
Yeah, I mean, I always joke and I'll be like, and then I Bethenny Frankled it and I wore my Juicy Scoop tank and I absolutely love that she, and she says branding is a word that's overused, but I feel like it kind of began like with her and the Kardashians around the same time. And I think, it's very interesting. And it's, as someone who's a fan of the Housewives, that we all remember the scene where she was, so mean to poor Sonja, who had the tipsy girl champagne. And she's like, but it's an alcohol and I'm skinny girl and you're a cheater brand. And so a lot of people like to poke fun at Bethenny because it's like, well, your shapewear is a cheater brand of Spanx and your coffee is a cheater brand of Keurig. I mean, it's like everything is that, but so that's why, going back to a couple years ago when she said that to Sonja, maybe she probably would not say that today. She'd probably be like, let me just let go of it and who cares, I'm at the top of my heap. But maybe a few years ago, when you're not at that pinnacle, you're kind of maybe a little bit more sensitive to like, oh my God, everyone's copying me,
So you know what? I don't know if you want my opinion. I've studied her incessantly, right? Because if I'm going to commit my time and my energy to go do the show, to truly compete in this competition, and then if I win, potentially take this full-time job, and obviously that would mean leaving behind the things that I've built, obviously nowhere near at her level, but that would still be leaving things behind, right? So I really wanted to get inside her head, and so I watched the old Apprentice with her and Martha Stewart, which such a funny dynamic. Her and I had a little bit of that dynamic. I read her books, and there's her book, A Come From a Place of Yes. I don't want to be like giving a book ad for her.
I've read it too. Yeah, it was good. It was really good.
Right. But so she talks a lot about, I think she kind of has lived her life in this fight or flight mode. Yeah. And I think that is why sometimes, she might have that reaction to Sonja representing Tipsy Girl. And then I think they kind of patched that and mended things over after. And I think that she's very much on guard. And there's a podcast episode she did on her show on Just Be with Paris Hilton where they both like share these horror stories. And I'm sure you have some of these too, where like people have stalked you and broken into your home and assistants have sold photos of you and lie or whatever. And I like, that's crazy. There's a few things like that have happened to me, but I think unfortunately that's left like a bit of mistrust in her path, if that makes sense. So, and I think I also riled up a lot of red flags when I jumped on that show, and she thought I just wanted to be there and not actually go to work, so.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's so interesting because at least maybe it was edited a certain way, but it seemed like that you were very aware of who she was, the other girl Jen was, and I just can't imagine that someone would go on this show and not watch every episode of Housewives, not read her books, not study every single thing about Bethenny. But some people do, and some people do that with big job interviews too. I remember when Chelsea Lately first started, and Chelsea was going to have her talk show. She met with all these showrunners, and mostly all men, and nobody had even bothered to write her name in YouTube and seen her previous work. They didn't watch her stand up. They didn't read her books. They just thought, since they're an experienced showrunner, like, hey. Well, who's this girl? And then the woman that she chose, which didn't last that long, but she was probably our showrunner for the first 6 months. I remember her saying, this woman was the only person that actually went on YouTube and watched everything I had done on previous shows and watched girls behaving badly. And I was just like, I can't believe that people are that lazy, especially when it's so easy.
Yeah.
You could spend, 5 hours and be caught up, really. And
totally.
The fact that some people really didn't, like that one guy that was only there one day, when you guys, and I'm not spoiling anything, but they do a video, the competitions do a video for Be Strong, which is their charity, which is great. And I did agree with you that the most important thing is when she said, this really goes to the people, because I think as a nation, we're now much more sadly aware that a charity takes in 1 million, and then the cost of that charity is $950,000.
Right.
The charity only gets
the administration cost.
And you're like, for $50,000, what? Why did I go to this event? Why did I do that? So I do really love that about Bethenny and how, transparent that is.
Yep.
So I loved that you were on that. But then this one guy who's in his competition, he goes, you're going to sit down and just say who you are. You're a mom. You're a housewife. And she's just like, and I was like, the word housewife, I was like, queen is like off with your head. Like, even though housewife is what put her on the map way more than the Bethenny Frankle, than the Martha Stewart thing. She does not want to be known as a housewife. Yeah, or a real housewife, or an actual housewife in a home, or a real housewife in Bravo. Like, I just was like, I peed a little when that guy said that. I was like, you're done. You're done.
I knew he was getting fired. I was like, you are this is your last moment here. You only got to say 3 words. You chose the wrong one. I could tell I wasn't even standing in the room, but it's funny. We were trying to listen in on everybody else's video because we had the last spot for that competition, which is funny because sometimes going first is best and sometimes going last is best, and it's really a toss-up. So
yeah.
For instance, with HSN, I went last with HSN as well, which wasn't necessarily a benefit because she was so frustrated at all the technical difficulties we were having with the live stream of the show. I honestly, it was crazy. There's a point, you can hear it in the show, where I turn around and I'm just like, whose job is this? Because I was so worried for her, because she's losing money every single minute. Like the millions, every minute is millions things. That's true. And I was just panicking for her on the inside, and it's not even my business,
Right.
But yeah, so with that charity challenge, I knew that John was getting fired immediately. I thought it was sad because he wouldn't have a chance to showcase anything else he could do. But, she brought him in, she gave him a chance, and he kind of botched it. You should know exactly who she is, and you should know exactly how she likes to be portrayed. She's very clear about it.
I do love that there's only girls left.
Yeah.
But I think she was open to whoever. I just think that really is the fit. And sometimes that is the fit. Sometimes the fit is someone that's more similar to yourself when you're, that gets all the products, gets that girl. Like, I couldn't work at ESPN. I could not. I would not be interested. Yeah. It's never been my interest. I don't know anything about it. It's not a good fit.
Totally.
So I think it's like, I don't think that's bad. I think that's interesting. And I think, but I really think what's great about the show is I really think every young person that might want to be in any type of this business or start at an assistant level for someone, whether you are assisting a Brentwood rich housewife whatever. Because Kris Jenner had assistants way before the Kardashians began. She was one of these Beverly Hills housewives, or that knew how to train an assistant to send out thank you gifts, organize before anybody was organizing their fridges and things like that. And she would really be good at like kind of training these people. And I think that's really hard for anyone that then is in a position to hire an assistant, because it is really hard for someone like me to not be a bitch and be like, and you don't know how much to tell them. But it's just like your children. Like if your children, don't know how to do the laundry, that's because you never taught them.
That's because
You
exactly.
never taught them. How would they have learned, So it's like, and so, or clean a toilet or whatever. So with an assistant, sometimes if you're really getting someone green, you do have to say, hey, so, this is how I like my coffee. And if you're stuck in traffic for 15 minutes with my coffee, most likely you're going to have to put it in the micro before you bring it to me. Just be aware of those things. And then like this, then they started to be aware of like her time and her being cold and the fact that she was like in her shapewear, for hours on end. Like I thought that episode gave me like anxiety because I just felt like it was so much like bitching.
Wait,
like
it gave you anxiety?
It got me anxiety watching.
I was dead.
I had to take a break.
On the
I was like the barking and like all of it was just so much. And then just seeing everybody just have to watch all these women in just like these nude, Spanx or whatever. I know I shouldn't say that, but skinny girl shapewear. And for like hours on end, I was just like, okay, I kind of need to take a break. But again, like I thought it was interesting. Like the guy, Corey, he's like, you guys are it's a girls' night in and you're going to have a pillow fight. And I immediately said to my sister who was visiting, I go, like, have we ever had a pillow fight in our entire, like no girl
in your
has
underwear.
ever, no one wants a pillow fight. It's like awful. It like hits you in the head. It's never fun. It's such a straight man's dream. Like it's in every like movie. Just like sorority girls aren't like making out with each other and like we could all sleep in the same bed after a drunken night. No one's fingering each other. Like it's not. And so I thought it was funny that you kind of like brought that up.
But did you like how he then went in for a tasteful nude? And she was like, I'm sorry. No, we're marketing bras and underwear. Why would I be topless?
Yeah, and it's just like, because that's, it wasn't like a good match. It just isn't a good match. So, but I did come up with a better campaign for what I would have done if I was trying to get it for the photo shoot. It's a good one. I do like the idea that I always think the funnest part of the night is getting ready and getting cute with your girlfriends.
Yeah.
So I liked that they're getting ready to go out. So they could be in the heels. So this is my idea. They're standing up in 3 different kinds of shapewear, 3 different kinds of bodies, and they're standing up looking in the mirror. So the photo, we would see the back of them and we would see the front of their shapewear. And one is curling her hair, one is doing her blush, and one is like curling an eyelash or whatever, putting on a lipstick. And there's some cocktails, there's some stuff, and then you see all of it.
I love that concept. I think I wish I would have thought of that.
If Bethenny is listening, Bethenny, take that for your next shapewear ad, because I think that's the winner there. Okay, so when you were doing it, what time of year, with all the COVID, and sometimes I wake up, I'm like, I don't even know what month it is. And then you're watching these reality shows that were shot in COVID and you're like, was this the hardcore part of COVID? Was this the summer where we had those 2 weeks where we thought COVID was over? Is this the surge in November? Like, when was this shot?
Yeah, so it was in the fall. So it was basically like October through like December. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard of COVID, and they don't like us to talk that much about it. But what I can tell you with certainty is that like, I have actually like never felt so safe in my life. Like I've done a lot of things in my life. I've DJ'd really weird parties for crazy people all over, maybe in my underwear, right? But never did I ever feel so safe as when someone was swabbing me every 5 minutes.
Well, first of all, this is not the COVID police, okay? And I never was the COVID police throughout the entire COVID. However, it's funny because I was talking to my sister the other day. I go, throughout my last 30 years of just my life of can remember, not that I'm 30, I'm older than that, but I'm just saying the last 30 years, I would
30.
almost always get a sinus infection every year. I would always have a cold or a scratchy throat at some point, which would always freak me out because I'm always about to go on the road. Right. I have never been healthier in my entire life than the year and a half of COVID.
Totally. So true.
Because you're wearing the mask, you're washing your hands, you're drinking your fluids, you're not going out like you used to. And my sister said the same thing. And she's like, she's an attorney running around mom. So it's like, in doing these filmings, the precaution, I've done a few filmings during COVID and the precautions are great. And so I wasn't asking for that. I was just kind of curious because when they show you like walking down the street, you don't have masks, but I was like, wait, was this like 2 years ago? Sometimes even when everybody's cleared, they're so scared that people are going to backlash that they make people wear masks for filming, just,
Right.
Even when it's totally not necessary. Everyone's been checked a billion times. So I just didn't know when, in fact, this was shot.
They had a whole team of people. So there was any moments that we were not filmed, we were in the mask. So it's like, it's such a brief moment you see it. But everyone.
But it's kind of a good show to have filmed because we really you didn't need a ton. It would have been, there probably would have been different challenges that would have involved more people had you been able to not do it during COVID. But it was kind of a good show to green light because, the things we're doing like a video or a commercial or a Zoom HSN or whatever. So that was pretty interesting. I thought it was funny that there was this one guy named Brody and he's like, oh, I have a crush on this girl. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I thought he was gay.
So everyone keeps asking me that. And so you remember, apparently I'm the one who unearthed this crush, which is everybody else knew about. So I don't know why that was such a big deal that I said, I heard there's like a crush going on there. And it was actually like a random person off set that noticed it and told me. And I was like, oh, that's funny. Like, you're totally right. I don't know. He has a lot of style. So I think like sometimes like women see a guy who's like decked out in a turtleneck, got a little bit of style, got some shoe game going on, maybe some powder on his face. And they assume, that he might be of a certain persuasion. But no, I
really do think turtlenecks are the most confusing element of having excellent gaydar that our generation is facing today. I don't know why a guy puts on a turtleneck and I'm like, he's gay. And then you find out he's straight. And you're like, well, I don't know. I didn't know. Maybe just have a cold neck because you're throwing it off.
It's kind of a good look. If I'm just being fully honest, I remember texting my ex.
I think it's attractive, but I do think it's for some reason triggers like, oh, he's a well-dressed gay man that likes a turtleneck and a blazer. Like when The Bachelor Matt was wearing turtlenecks all the time, it was really throwing me that he was straight. Because I was like, that turtleneck, I can't with it.
I think we should like make it an acceptable look. It's kind of stylish, but I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, kind of like me.
So I was a huge fan of The Apprentice. I freaking loved that show. And when I tested for the original talk and I was watching the show and Sharon Osbourne was there and then in watched Holly, what the hell is her name? Holly. Oh my God, there's this whole big controversy. Why can't I? Holly Robinson Pete. Holly Robinson Pete walks in. And I was watching the season and they like were up against each other. They didn't like each other. They had a lot of tension. And they both test for the show and they both get on the show. And now years later, we realize actually they still didn't like each other when they were on the show together. It all comes out. And so I think it's kind of interesting that there isn't that much of this element on your show, but a little bit of, that Housewives moment of talking to each other, giving each other some shit in person, and then also giving some shit in the confessionals about each other. How did you feel about that? Were you comfortable with that? Not comfortable?
Yeah. So, it's funny. Like, once again, because I had watched so much of The Apprentice, I'm such a big fan. But of course, I've seen tons of The Real Housewives. Like, it literally is the marriage of the two. Right? For anybody who hasn't seen it. If you like The Real Housewives, if you like The Apprentice, watch this because it's just one big of both. One big circus, right, of both. But I think I didn't realize there would be as much of like that kind of like gossipy component to it. And I learned very quickly, like in that photo shoot, when everything was kind of shit was hitting the fan, right? And I'm like, I say this, I'm like, I'm keeping track in my journal because I literally don't know what's going on. Like 2 + 2 does not equal 10. So how is this escalating out of control? And that's when I realized, I was like, oh, this is a different show than I thought we were filming.
Yeah.
But I'm cool with it because I think it was all done in good fun. Like a lot of the things that Bethenny says about me, like genuinely crack me up. And I'm like, there's some truth to that.
And where did you guys sleep? Did you have your own hotel rooms or did you sleep in like a place?
Yeah, so they picture it. It's the No Mo Soho, but they picture us walking out of it in one of the scenes. But yeah, everybody was.
But you did have like your own space.
Yeah, correct.
Because sometimes in these competition shows in the past, they had them like living, or like the chefs sitting, in some of the cooking shows, they live in a place together.
Yeah,
which adds to the tension, and you didn't clean the dish. So we didn't have that. Okay, that's fine. And
you didn't clean the dish.
You know what I mean? Like that's a whole other fight. It's like,
or like alcohol, a lot of alcohol involved, right? We didn't have those moments because there wasn't much like off-duty time.
Right.
So it wasn't like, there's literally one scene where we each had one glass of wine and then we all cried about our family problems. And then like that's the extent of like the carefree drinking moments.
Yeah. One thing I liked is when you were going to do the Be Strong video and the other girl says to you like, well, you won't be able to relate because you come from, 2 doctors and wealth, and I, come from immigrant, and that's why really an immigrant family, and that's why. And I thought you handled yourself really well, and I was very impressed that, in fact, you have participated in a lot of charitable efforts. In fact, you actually went to Haiti, and I was like, I'm so glad you got that out because so many times, people just get labeled, for what the appearance is. Like, I almost felt like, it was, I always felt like it was like the movie, oh God, what's the movie with Molly Ringwald, and they all have to have class all day long because they got in trouble. And anyway, what the hell is it?
What movie is? Oh, or not?
It's a John Hughes film. It's a high school film. It was when I was in high school. But like Molly Ringwald is the princess, and the other girl, the other kid is like, horrible alcoholic dad, and the other guy's the jock, and like they all have to be in like a Saturday class all day long.
Yeah, no, they're in detainment. Is it sweet? It's not sweet. It's not 16
No,
candles.
It's not 16 candles right around. But I'm telling you
I know
right
what you're
now,
talking about.
Every Juicy Scoomer screaming at the car at me, being like, how can you not remember this? It'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, and I just think it's that label-y thing. And so, but you also didn't get defensive about it either. And so I just thought that was like a cool moment.
Thank you so much for saying that. And I'll say this too. I started my own personal give back component to, building out my career and making it more of a regular part of just my month, my week, whatnot. When I was 26, I'm older now, obviously, so it's been a long time. And I'm now on the board of UNICEF Next Gen, so I think that also is probably part of the reason why we excelled in that. She had a personal background in it, and I had, more of a professional background in it, where I've spent a lot of time over the last 8 years doing charity work. And so I was really glad that they showed that too, because I would never want the storyline to be like, I didn't struggle ever, or I don't care about other people from different backgrounds, because it's very much a really important thing to me.
Yeah, that's great. How old are you now?
I'm 34.
Oh, okay, great.
If you notice, I didn't say it on the show just because I don't like Wendy. So I wouldn't give her that.
You didn't say what?
She asked me like so many times on the show, like how old I was. And I just didn't want to tell her.
And Wendy's 26, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was a little bit younger. Anyway, I love Bethenny Frankle's outfits. I can't believe how tiny her waist is. I'm obsessed with her waist. She looks
skinny
great.
girl popcorn.
I mean,
didn't you know?
She looks great. She's always, looked really good. Anyway, I think the show is really fun. Is there any juice or anything you want to tell us before we go?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this was like, I I think it comes across when you watch it, but this was like one of the hardest things that I've ever done, right? And I've done a lot of weird things, and I'm sure you know, like working for yourself, being an entrepreneur, especially in entertainment as a female, is challenging. And this show was by far like the hardest thing that I've ever done. But I would say that watching it, seeing it all together feels so fulfilling and gratifying for me. And it's really helped me hone in on exactly the message that I want to give to the people that we talk to the people that we touch. And it's really, it's exciting because now I know kind of exactly what my new direction is, right? That it's that petty bullshit, that drama. I don't want any of that. I really want to help lift up other women where we can. And it's made me realize too that female to female mentorship, you know, even at different levels or peer mentorship is a real problem and something that we can do so much more to cure, I guess, in the world.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the things I've seen, like in people talking about the show, is like, you know, it seems like nobody really, and this is not a dig, is qualified to be a CEO of a company that has 2,900 different things.
Totally.
I mean, that's like purchasing orders. That's a whole nother thing. Like I could see it being like, I just think if I was to give it any criticism, it should have been something more like, who's going to be my head of marketing?
Right.
Like
correct.
something that's a little bit, because I feel like everybody kind of, that would be, I think if there's any criticism about shows, people are like, I just don't believe that the person that's really going to be her main person, there's someone that's going to hang with her all the time and know that Biggie and Smalls need to take a shit, but they can also like post something and also give an opinion about the latest jean style. Yeah. There's that person that's going to be like a mini Bethenny that I think she needs like a female that knows fashion and knows everything. But then the person that's really going to be with her handling all that stuff has to be someone that's like, you know, like a Harvard, not necessarily Harvard, but like an MBA. Like
totally.
I would think she would need an MBA. So I think if she ever does it again and wants to like, she should have a more specific thing that might even be like more fun. I don't know. That would be the only thing I'd said.
Like what you're saying, what you guys saw too, we didn't have any more information on exactly what the job role was either.
Oh,
you know,
so you didn't know that she kept saying like, I don't think anyone can do this. And you're
She's like,
yeah.
I'm like, do what though? I'm sorry. Can I see the job description? And I made like a funny TikTok about that got a ton of views because I was just like, with that moment where she told us that we were going on HSN and my jaw dropped. And I was just like, wait, I'm briefing you. You're the star. I want you to sell it. Let me just support you. Why the hell am I going on? I'm sorry. Where's the job description for this?
Right.
Like, a VP of operations probably is not the person that can hop on HSN and sell to moms in the Midwest either. So it's like,
right.
You know, I think a lot of the challenges were about marketing and, like you said, social media. And for those types of things, I'm a great fit because I do all that. I worked in agencies for 5 years, went off on my own, and then have built, you know, my own brands. Obviously, nowhere near Skinny Girl, but I'm a marketing person, right, for our own projects and companies. Yeah. And then, you know, but a lot of people on the flip side are like, well, if she's looking for a VP of operations, that's not Nicole. True, right? Like right. I can't do her taxes and run an analysis on, you know, the sales from every different channel. I probably could if you taught me, but I'm not going to throw in and hit the ground running on that role. You know what I mean?
I feel like the show is like, it's like The Apprentice, but, you know, with The Apprentice, it was just a bigger show. It was a bigger operation. He, you know, and every week it was a different person. Like I always remember, like Ivanka would be like, "Hi and welcome. I'm very excited to talk to Nabisco today. It's a snack that we all love. It's a friend of ours. We've worked with, you know." And then the next week it would be something else. So the fact that it's like all of her stuff, which makes sense. Which again, I said it's an incredible commercial for her because even if you're, you know, I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe I will check out her pots and pans. Like you're like, I don't know, get pots and pans.
They were good, you know, by the way. Just
and like,
not good if they don't work with the stove. So that's one thing to know. That induction is a tricky situation.
So I think that's like, you know, so I think all of that is fun. I just think it's like an aspect of that. And we'll see what happens with going forward. But I still think I think it could be fun. Those are my tips. If you're listening, Bethenny, or anybody that works there, that I would just make it a more specific thing, and you could even have more fun with it. You could even have a little bit more of the people having to go up against each other a little bit more.
I think but that if they were, sorry, if they were like, you know, I think that she can actually have so many people, right? Because she's growing rapidly. She has all these different ideas. I mean, seriously, she has all these like 26 different business units, like she mentions on the show, but more ideas to continue expanding. So honestly, she could probably hire several different people. And you're right, if it was very specific, like this is for head of marketing that'll work across all the brands, that would have made more sense for the challenges that we were given and the people that were in the room. So totally agree with that feedback.
So I know you can't spoil it for us, so we're going to watch it. We're going to see where you are. I'll text you after in 2 weeks.
And I would love to hear your thoughts.
Tell everybody where they can follow you.
Yeah, amazing. So you can find me at djnicolerose.com. My Instagram is just Nicole Rose Stillings, which is so long, so you can just type in Nicole Rose or Rose and I'll come up. And then our podcast has episodes every Monday, and it's called Big Queen Energy. And we're on Apple. We have an Instagram page. We love to connect. So get in the DMs and chat.
Props to the title. Big Queen Energy, like big dick energy. Very clever.
Thank you. It was actually my mantra getting through the show because, like I said, like saying it was challenging is honestly an understatement. There were days where I was like, my anxiety should be medicated.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would look at myself in the mirror.
How long was the whole process from beginning to end, from the day you started to film till the day the winter would have ended? Like, how long was that?
I don't really know the exact time frame, but like in the 2-month mark.
Oh, that long. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know if it was like 3 weeks or 3 months. So, okay. Like
it took a little longer than I think it was supposed to, but there were moments where I would literally look at myself in the mirror and be like, you're a fucking queen, babe. Get back out there. You wipe your tears off, girl. Wipe off that mascara drizzle. Get your ass back out there and win,
Yeah.
So it became my mantra, and hopefully we can inspire other people through
I think
the
it's
podcast.
a good, like I said, I think it's one of those shows that like, it's just a good thing for young people to watch, just to be aware of like all those little things that you're going to pick up some tips that are going to help you get a job, keep a job, just being more aware, and again, it has to be taught. So I do appreciate that she's kind of teaching a generation of things like the grammar and, being aware of like, is this person being taken care of, and that they're the top priority because their time is that valuable. I like all of that. So I will be watching, everybody. It's Big Shot on HBO Max, and it's very entertaining, and you will learn something too. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that was a great show. Thank you so much, you guys. I'm very excited to see you live. For all my dates, you go to heathermcdonald.net. Irvine just went on sale. Irvine Improv in California, October 1st, 2nd, and a live Juicy Scoop the 3rd. And one of those shows is almost sold out, so I don't want you to miss out. You want to go to heathermcdonald.net and get your tickets. Also, right now you can buy tickets for Seattle, September 10th and 11th at the Triple Door. I love this venue. I've been there before. Seattle, get on it. And Miami, I'll see you June 17th, 18th, and 19th at the Miami Improv. Everything at heathermcdonald.net.